Hi, and welcome to this video on an introduction to search engine optimization. So it's just designed for new website owners who just need a little bit of help getting started. It's not massively in depth. I would recommend some further research after, but let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to cover is what actually is search engine optimization. And I say change your mindset. And the reason for that is we talk about search engine optimization, optimizing your website for search engines. But what you need to start thinking is you're not just trying to make your website visible in general. And what I normally see with new website owners is they search for their domain name to see how well they're doing in search rankings. And what you really need to be doing is typing in things like wedding photographers in Gloucester if you're a wedding photographer to see how well your site search does website does in those search results. Because if someone already knows about your website, you don't really need to optimize it for them. You're trying to attract new visitors. So what you're trying to do is improve your rank for certain keywords. And like I say, wedding photographers in Gloucester is an example. You're trying to generate new business. You're not targeting people who are looking for your business by name. They've already found you. So they already know about you. The hard work has been done. Each keyword or phrase is its own beast. So you need to target a few, don't target too many, but you want to think about a few search terms that you would like to target and try and sort of make them quite specific. So, like I say, wedding photographer in Gloucester would be potentially targeting those. If you're targeting something like wedding photographers, realistically, you haven't got much of a chance. You're never going to rank particularly well for someone just searching wedding photographers. And by the same token, they're not going to get great results either because, you're opening up to the entire internet. So, like I say, it's something to think about. And I do talk about these keywords later on in the video. Now, lastly, I say Google don't care about you as a website owner. It's not necessarily true. They do give us a lot of really useful tools for free. However, their main priority is their user base. They want to provide their users with the best results, the best websites, so that those users continue to use their search engine. It could be Google, could be Bing, but they want to give the best results. So when I say they don't care about you as a website owner, they aren't they don't care if you're page two, page one, page three. You've got to think that they're not, they are on your side to an extent, but their main thing is their users. And you have to get in that mindset of providing the best results for their users rather than trying to appease the search engine themselves, if that makes sense. And with that in mind, let's go on to the next topic, which is how you actually get listed in the results in the first place. So how does your website get added to the Google search results or the Bing search results or any of the other search engines? Well, when we do a search in Google, for example, so if I do a search for maths tutors in Gloucester, that's not a live search of the entire live internet of every website that's out there. There could be websites that exist that aren't shown in these results. In order to get listed in search results, Google or any other search engine will send over what's called crawlers to your website. They're known as different things, robots, a few different things they might be known as. But essentially, what they do is scan your website content and then add that to the search engine's index. And then when you do a search in Google, Google's index is going to be the thing that's searched. And that what that does mean is that these might not necessarily be live updates. These might be results from pages that haven't been scanned for a couple of weeks, and some of that data might be a little old. Usually it's pretty much up to date, but it's worth noting. Now, if you've got a new website, these robots will eventually come over to your website and find it. But if you're finding you're doing a search for something you think your website should be listed in and you're not coming up, the way to check if you're listed in there or not is just do something like this. So we go site and then a colon and then we go. So this is one of my websites I've built before. And if I wanted to see if it's actually listed, there we go. So we can see my website is listed there. So that's worth noting. One thing you can do to speed it up if you've got a brand new website is use the Google Search Console. Now this is something I will touch on a little bit later on, but you can request that the search engines scan your website to add them to their index. So now we know a little bit about how your website actually gets added to the search engine results. Let's take a look at some really important key factors you should do before we look at anything else, things like keywords. These are the first steps that we need to be looking at. So first things first, I'm going to show you what Google themselves recommend. Just go over some of their guidelines. Now, again, it covers a little bit about my website isn't on Google, and it kind of explains what I've just talked about. But here's their checklist of things that you should do to make sure your site's listed. And these really are the first steps before you look at anything like content or anything on your website. So is my website showing up on Google? Doing that site plus your domain name will answer that for you. So do I serve high quality content to users? So this is the number one priority. And going back to my original point about Google not necessarily caring about you as a business owner, um, take that as you will, but they care about their users more so. So you should aim to provide really high quality content on your website and make sure you're not just trying to tailor it to the search engines, make sure it's nice and readable, all those sorts of things. In all honesty, it's a massive topic and something I would always recommend doing further research on. They've got some tips there. I'll add the link in the description to the video. I would highly recommend taking a look at that. So is my local business showing up on Google? Now, this is a really useful little tip that I will actually, I was going to add to my few tips section at the end, but I'll cover it here as well. Now, this is a good thing to do. So google.com/business. Now, what you can do is add your business to Google and it will show on maps and it will show in search results. So looking at the search term private tutor Gloucester, so my father-in-law, he is a private tutor. I made this website for him. Top of this page for people searching for private tutor Gloucester, he's right there at the top because I added his business to Google businesses. If I hadn't done, not only would it not be there, potentially could hurt my rank for these keywords, but we have to scroll all the way down to find his website there. So just by adding it to Google's business, it has helped in that sense. And also it can help your search rankings for your website. So I'd highly recommend doing that. We've got, is my content fast and easy to access on all devices? Again, mobile search now is huge. It's overtaken any other form of user base. So you've got to make sure your website is mobile friendly. If it's not, you're going to get penalized in the search results for it. So again, before you look at anything else, have a look at usability. They've given us a really easy test for this. So we can put our domain name into this tool. Again, I'll link in the description and it's linked on this page here. We can enter a URL to test and it's going to tell us if that's user friendly. So again, if we just do a very quick example, that's my father-in-law's website and it's secure. So we'll test that URL and that's going to analyze, and it just usually doesn't take long at all, obviously depending on the size of your website. But once that's run through, that's going to tell us if our website is mobile friendly. And again, if it's not, they'll give you some tips on how to get through that. We'll come back to that in a second. Is my website secure? So very briefly, just in that URL there, I used HTTPS for my domain. Really important. Again, nowadays, make sure you've got an SSL certificate for your website. It does help you with the search rankings, or so they say. In Google, again, we never really know what affects your search rankings, but it was strongly recommended to do that. If they're recommending it here, it probably affects your search ranking. And do I need additional help? That's nothing you need to necessarily do here. That's just them talking about if you want to hire someone to do your search engine optimization for you. Again, it's a massive topic. People get paid a lot of money to do it. This video is just an introduction. So let's have a quick look back at this. So here we go. Page is mobile friendly. There was a few page loading issues, but there we go. And also what you can do is have a look and see what that website looks like in a mobile device there. Perfect. And again, always use this tool rather than just looking yourself and thinking, oh, this looks nice in a mobile, because the way Google sees your website is different to how people see your website. So always use these sorts of tools just to make sure. So once we've done all that, we'll have a look at keywords and how to actually target users on your website with content. now we've had a look at how the search engines actually index websites, let's have a look at how we actually start targeting potential customers and visitors to our websites. So keywords is the key here, and it's interchangeable with key phrases. So when we say keywords, it could mean a whole phrase, it could mean individual words, but ultimately it's content on your websites. So private tutor Gloucester here is a keyword for all intents and purposes, although it's a phrase. So what we need to do is target what people might be searching. So for my father-in-law, people are going to be looking for private tutor in Gloucester or private tutor for the 11 plus exam, things like that. And they're the sorts of people I want to attract to my website. So I'm going to target those keywords with my content. So if we actually have a look at the search results for my father-in-law's website here, if we go down to the actual result here, we've got Mark Collier, private tutor in Gloucestershire, and Dr. Mark Collier is a private tutor in Gloucester. See how the keywords are highlighted there. Now that particular content there, and this is important, is not actually visible on that page for that website. That is the page title and the page description. Now, depending on how you've built your website, that is going to be different how you actually add that. But generally speaking, it's very obvious where you would add it. If you're using the fast-paced website builder, for example, it's in the page options. It would have title and description. And again, that's not visible on the actual page itself. It's just a thing that the search engines will see to get an understanding of what that page is about. So if we actually go to here, as you can see, that isn't necessarily anywhere. The page title isn't visible. It's nothing in my content. But if we view the page source, and this is what the search engines will see, is all this page source here. So if we scroll down a little bit, we're going to see it. Hopefully, it's a little bit. Might have to do a quick search for it. There we go. So here we go, meta name, description, and the meta tags. Again, this is the meta tags are going to be content that your visitors wouldn't necessarily see, but it just helps the search engines to categorize a page and understand a bit more what it's about. So as we can see, I've got those keywords in here. That's the page description, and that's the page title, and that is what's shown in the search results there. So again, you want to make sure you're getting some keywords in there. Don't go overboard, as you can see for most of these. We've limited it to the point that it's not going to get missed in the search results. You can have them longer than what I've put there, but what will happen is that after a certain point, they won't. The people seeing the search results won't see any more anyway. So try and keep it succinct. Search engines are what's the word for it? They are sophisticated enough to understand that you don't have to put the exact key phrase. They'll use likenesses and things like that, but you want to try and sort of certainly be targeting a few key phrases in your content. Again, if we go back to my father-in-law's homepage, you can see here, Mark offers private tutoring for primary age children in Gloucester. Now, again, that reads really nicely for my visitors, but it also tells those search engines what this website is about. And that's really important. Make sure you're getting these keywords into your content naturally. You don't want to force them. It has to read nicely. Again, remember that Google wants high quality content for its users. So like I say, that's a nice example of how to get it into your content naturally. Don't target hundreds of key phrases. It isn't effective. It's just worth targeting a few. As far as knowing what to target, that's a whole big subject, and I would recommend going and doing some further sort of research into that. It's not something I would cover in this. It would be a very long video if I did. But yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. A lot of them you have to pay for, but they will analyze search terms and tell you how many people are searching for a specific search term. And again, just to reiterate something that's important here, you'll notice in my keywords, I'm targeting a local area. If I was just targeting something like private tutor for primary age children, I'm then competing with the entire country. I'm competing with well-established businesses. I'm never going to get anywhere near that front page of Google without spending quite a lot of money, I wouldn't have thought, on AdWords and advertising. So again, if you want to try and get to those top results of what's called organic search, make sure you're targeting something quite specific. And when I say organic, I will just very quickly cover that. We've got the results up here. If there was adverts, they would show up here. They would say ad. Anything underneath is organic results. Okay, so nothing. They just show in the results regardless of any advertising spend or anything like that. And on the end of that, we will move on to a few tips. So the last thing I want to talk about in this video is just a few tips, just to get you going really. Again, search engine optimization is a big topic. You can talk about it for hours. There's a lot to learn. A lot of people earn a lot of money knowing a lot more about it. So like I say, it's not something I can really make you an expert in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but yeah, there's some tips to just get you going. So first things first is write for people, not search engines. I see this mistake quite often where people will try and force their keywords into their content, and it doesn't read well, it doesn't make any sense, and ultimately it won't help your website. Make sure that you're really focusing on that user experience. So next up, use a blog. This is something I do for some of the websites I make. Again, my father-in-law, he's got a blog, and what it really helps you do is it gives your website extra content, shows the search engines that your website's being updated, and also gives you an extra opportunity to get extra keywords into your website as well. It's really useful if you've just got a very static website that doesn't get updated very often. Just helps you add some content, keep it fresh. So link social media profiles, but only if you're active on those platforms. One thing that's a personal pet peeve of mine is when people add their LinkedIn profiles or Facebook profiles and link them off from their websites, and you go onto there and they haven't been updated for 2 years. They do it for search engine optimization, but again, is that user experience. Potentially, search engines will see that you're not active on those platforms at all, and it won't actually give you any benefit. And all it will serve to do is annoy people who are using that and want to actually contact you on Facebook or look at what you've been updating on there. So optimize your website and use the tools available. So Google have provided some really useful tools, and also as has Bing. Bing have got webmaster tools. Google have provided Page Insights, and I put it on the screen now. Page Insights, that mobile-friendly tool I showed you earlier, and also their Search Console, which are all free tools that you should be using. So if you're not using them, use them now. They will help you, and they will give you an idea if there are any issues on your website that you weren't necessarily aware of. So again, really useful. Make sure you use them. They're all free. It's very a good idea to be using them. Use Google Business as well. So again, showed you earlier my website for my father-in-law. He's quite low on the first page for a search term, but he's at the very top in the business listing. So definitely use those. Highly recommended. It's free. There's no reason not to if you've got a local business. Next, my final tip is do some further research. And like I say, this has been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. You basically need to go and do some further research if you're interested. And a website called SEO Moz, SEO MOZ, if you want to search for it. Really useful. They've got some paid tools if you want to use them, but they've got some really good free resources, some really good in-depth beginner guides that go into a lot more depth than what I have done in this video. So it's a good place to start, but I mean, there are loads of resources, not just SEO Moz, and there's loads of blogs, loads of experts writing about it. So yeah, like I say, do some further research, and there's some really good tips and hints out there that might help you. And that's all there is to it. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully it's been useful, and hopefully you've learned something. But like I say, it's been a fairly short video for SEO. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.